Hi, Leo. Let me ask you something bold. What if this week is the moment everything changes? Not by accident, but by divine design. Welcome to eternal mindfulness, where nothing you hear is random, and every message is delivered with purpose, presence, and deep cosmic intention. If this video found you, it's because you're ready. And this moment, it's calling you home to yourself. This is your in-depth horoscope reading for the sign of Leo, covering the week of March 31st through April 6th. A week that holds powerful potential. A week where the stars align not just in the sky, but within you. You, Leo, are the royal flame. The sovereign spirit ruled by the sun itself. And this week, the sun isn't just rising, it's blazing a path forward, through obstacles, through doubt, straight into a breakthrough. But here's the truth, before the light emerges, the soul often walks through the shadows. You may have felt lost lately, uncertain, a little disconnected from your own power. But that disconnection? It's not defeat. It's a recalibration. A sacred pause before divine momentum. And now, that momentum is here. The universe isn't whispering anymore. It's roaring. And it's speaking your name. Let's be clear, your presence here is no coincidence. In the grand dance of the cosmos, everything has its rhythm. The fact that you're hearing this message, right now, is part of that rhythm. Maybe something inside you has been searching. Or maybe, without even realizing it, you've been aligning with a version of you that's finally ready to rise. So before we go any further, let me take a moment to speak from the heart. Let me express my deepest gratitude for your presence here. Every like, every comment you so kindly share, every time you subscribe, it brings you deeper into the eternal mindfulness family. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your beautiful support is the reason this channel can continue to grow and deliver transformative messages like this. And trust me, dear Leo, you'll want to stay with me until the very last moment of today's reading. Because what the universe is preparing to reveal is nothing short of breathtaking. We're talking about destiny shifting. Doors opening. A powerful comeback that you might not even see coming, but one you've always been meant for. Now tell me, my loyal Leo friends. What was it, deep down, that drew you here today? What energy did you send out into the world that led you to this exact moment, to this exact reading? You didn't stumble here by mistake. You're not just watching. You're remembering. Awakening. Aligning. So take a deep breath. Let the energy settle in. And come with me, because the next chapter of your story is already unfolding. And it begins, right now. It's strange, isn't it? How sometimes the moments that seem to strip us bare, the ones that leave us doubting our worth, our strength, our direction, are the very moments that carry the seed of something sacred. If you felt lately like the light inside you was dimming, like your fire had flickered under the weight of expectation or disappointment, you are not alone. And more importantly, you are not broken. You are being refined. The energy of this week calls forth a powerful image, fire not as destruction, but as transformation. Imagine the inner fire of Leo, the solar force that fuels your courage, your creativity, your desire to shine, not being extinguished, but being recalibrated. The trials you've moved through recently were not meant to punish you, but to prepare you. Much like how gold is smelted, or how clay is molded into form, you've been softened in some places so that your shape can shift to meet a higher version of yourself. Numerology offers us a whisper of insight here. The number 909 carries the vibration of completion and initiation. It's an echo of something old fading, while something unshaped but full of promise rises in its place. That's the magic of the threshold you're now standing on, the sacred in-between where endings kiss beginnings. It can be disorienting. That quiet, uncertain space after something familiar falls away, but before the new has fully arrived. Yet in that stillness, there is clarity. There is spaciousness. And there is choice. Often, the mind resists this space. It clings to familiar forms, even those that no longer serve us, because uncertainty feels unsafe. But your deeper awareness, the knowing beyond thought, understands that to grow is to release. And to release is to trust. There's a reason you are ruled by the sun. The sun does not question its right to rise. It does not apologize for illuminating what was hidden. Nor does it compete for space in the sky. It simply is, radiant, generous, life-giving. Right now, you are being invited to remember that essence within yourself. To come home to your inner radiance. But this is not about performance. It's not about being strong in the way the world expects. Rather, it's about allowing yourself to feel what has been buried. To grieve what didn't turn out the way you hoped. To rest where you are weary. Because real power isn't built from denial. It's born from presence. Like the quiet unfolding of a lotus flower rising from murky waters, your becoming doesn't require force. It simply asks for space. To witness. To breathe. To soften. And then, to move, intentionally, courageously, with compassion for yourself and others. There is a teaching that reminds us, when the mind is still, clarity arises. When the heart is open, wisdom flows. And when action is grounded in truth rather than fear, the path ahead becomes clear, even if it's only one step at a time. You may not have all the answers yet, and that's okay. What you do have is the light of awareness, and that is more than enough. This week, reflect on what no longer aligns with your becoming. What stories have you outgrown? What habits have dulled your flame? What parts of you are ready to be seen, not because they're perfect, but because they are real? There is great healing in witnessing ourselves honestly, with compassion. And there is great strength in choosing to begin again, even when the world expects you to stay the same. You are not who you were yesterday. You are not defined by a single failure, or even a string of them. You are a living, breathing example of resilience. And the fire you carry within? It's sacred. It's solar. It's sovereign. So let yourself rise, not in rebellion against the past, but in reverence for the journey that brought you here. Because everything you've walked through has shaped the courage you're about to need, and that courage is enough to light the way forward. Stay with me. There's more ahead. And you're ready for it. Sometimes the most powerful movements are the ones we don't even see from the outside. Not everything sacred is loud. Not every awakening looks like fireworks or grand announcements. Sometimes it begins quietly, in the stillness of a room, in the hush of early morning, in the gentle ache of realizing that the path forward requires a pause. For you, Leo, this moment may feel like that, a subtle but undeniable pull to step back, to be alone with your thoughts, to hear something that has long been whispering underneath the surface noise. If you felt the urge to retreat lately, to unplug from expectations, to distance yourself from the spotlight you're so often drawn to, it's not a sign of weakness or avoidance. It's a sacred invitation. An inner calling. And while it might feel unfamiliar for a sign so closely connected to bold self-expression, this is a necessary cycle. Every fire needs to breathe. Even the sun must dip below the horizon to rise again. The hermit archetype in the tarot doesn't symbolize isolation for the sake of withdrawal, it represents purposeful solitude. It's the archetype of wisdom earned through reflection, insight drawn from silence, and transformation that begins within. Right now, you are being guided to turn your light inward, not because the world doesn't need your fire, but because your flame burns brighter when it's rooted in truth. This phase isn't about disappearing, it's about reconnecting. There is something deeply healing about choosing to slow down in a world that demands acceleration. To sit still when everything else seems to be moving. And yet, in this stillness, so much begins to stir. It's in those quiet moments that clarity begins to crystallize. When you step back from the noise, the patterns you've been repeating become visible. The feelings you've been carrying finally have space to speak. The direction you've been searching for starts to reveal itself, not through analysis, but through awareness. The energy of the number 0000 mirrors this sacred reset. It symbolizes pure potential, the space between cycles, the blank canvas, the clean breath before the first word is spoken. It is a threshold that exists beyond time, an opening where the old no longer holds power, and the new has not yet formed its shape. But to receive the message this number brings, you must be willing to listen with more than just your ears. You must listen with your whole being, with patience, humility, and presence. In some teachings, this practice of listening deeply is compared to watching the surface of a still pond. When the water is agitated, it distorts everything it reflects. But when it settles, it reveals the truth without effort. Your inner world works the same way. When your thoughts and emotions are turbulent, clarity cannot arise. But when you stop chasing answers, when you simply allow yourself to be where you are without judgment, a deeper truth emerges. One that isn't forced, but flows naturally, like water finding its way. This week, allow yourself the grace to slow down. Not forever, just long enough to hear what's been trying to reach you. Journal without editing yourself. Walk in nature without headphones. Sit in quiet without the need to fix anything. These simple acts are not passive, they are profoundly active forms of self-alignment. When done with intention, they become the foundation for your next empowered step. And know this, your intuition is not something separate from you. It is not some rare gift that only appears in moments of crisis. It's a quiet, constant voice, one that gets louder when you trust it. The more you honor those subtle nudges, the more naturally your path unfolds. You do not need to have all the answers. You simply need to be present enough to receive them as they come. Remember that even the brightest stars are born in darkness. Your light is not fading, it is consolidating. Gathering strength. preparing for something truer than what came before. So if you feel the urge to pull back, to rest, to reflect, listen to that call. It's not taking you away from your power. It's leading you directly to it. There's a subtle yet undeniable shift in the air, a kind of gentle buzzing beneath the surface of things. After the quiet introspection, after the necessary withdrawal to reconnect with your inner light, something begins to stir, and it's not just within you. It's all around you, too. This week, the energy is shifting from inward reflection to outer opportunity. The rhythm of the universe is aligning with your momentum, and if you've been wondering when the real world would catch up with all the internal changes you've been making, the answer is now. When the Ace of Pentacles appears, it is not merely a symbol of material blessings. It is a doorway. It marks the arrival of something tangible, yes, a job offer, a new income stream, a gift of financial stability, but its essence runs deeper. It speaks of rooted potential, of ideas turning into action, and intentions finding form. Much like planting a seed, this card suggests that you are being handed fertile ground and the resources to begin something sustainable. But it still requires you to show up, to nurture the moment, to act with presence. The Wheel of Fortune, in contrast, doesn't offer promises, it offers movement. It's the turning of cycles, the invitation to ride the momentum rather than resist it. This is not luck in the way we often define it, as something random or out of our control. Instead, this card is a mirror of the energy you've already been cultivating within. When you let go of what no longer aligns and open yourself to the unknown, the wheel responds. Not as a reward for effort, but as a natural response to alignment. Then comes the Ten of Pentacles, a vision of long-term security, generational wealth, and legacy. But here's the nuance. It's not just about money. It's about value. It's about what you build over time through commitment, wisdom, and integrity. It's about creating a life that sustains not only you, but those you love. This isn't the energy of instant gratification. It's the slow, steady unfolding of a life rooted in purpose. For a sign like Leo, ruled by the sun, the alignment of these cards feels especially potent. You are at your best when you feel seen, when your light is contributing something meaningful to the world. And right now, that light has the potential to attract extraordinary things, not because you chase them, but because you embody them. Confidence isn't about shouting the loudest. It's about walking into a room and knowing you belong there. This week, opportunities may show up in the form of external invitations, a business proposal, a raise, a chance to share your gifts more widely. But underneath, they are simply reflections of the work you've already been doing on yourself. There is also a practical dimension to this energy. A gentle reminder that while hope and vision are beautiful, they need structure to thrive. Think of this week as the bridge between vision and execution. Are your financial habits aligned with your goals? Are your daily choices reflecting the abundance you're calling in? Sometimes, creating space for new prosperity means clearing out what clutters your current environment, physically, emotionally, even digitally. Small, grounded actions carry immense power right now. Color, too, carries vibration. And this week, golden yellow is your ally. More than just visually striking, it evokes confidence, magnetism, and clarity. Surrounding yourself with this energy, whether through what you wear, what you create, or how you set up your space, can be a way to signal to your subconscious that you are stepping into your worth, that you are open to receiving, that you are ready. And in the spirit of readiness, consider this: true readiness is not about having it all figured out. It's about being available to the moment, willing to respond with courage, even when the path isn't fully visible. In the same way that a flower turns to meet the sun each morning, you too are being called to lean toward your own light. To trust that the opportunities arising are not tests, but confirmations. Affirmations that the inner shifts you've made are real, and that the outer world is finally catching up. So as this week unfolds, stay open. Take the call. Follow the thread. What begins as a whisper of possibility could very well turn into the beginning of your next great chapter. Sometimes, the heaviest weight we carry isn't the future we're unsure of, it's the past we haven't yet let go of. And for someone with a heart as bold and loving as Leo's, the echoes of what could have been often linger longer than most would ever admit. There's a particular kind of courage in dreaming big, in offering your heart fully, in stepping into the world with open arms. But with that comes vulnerability. And vulnerability, while beautiful, can leave behind traces of pain when life doesn't respond the way we hoped. When the Five of Cups surfaces, it doesn't judge you for mourning. It honors the ache. It holds space for the grief you may have hidden even from yourself. Disappointments, betrayals, missed chances, these moments accumulate quietly, often becoming the lens through which we see the present. But this card is not about drowning in sorrow. It's a gentle invitation to shift your gaze. While 3 cups may have spilled, 2 remain upright. Full. Waiting. And sometimes, all it takes is a shift in attention to remember that possibility is still alive. Leo, your gift is your ability to feel deeply. That's never been a weakness. But right now, it's important to remember that not everything that once mattered must continue to hold space in your story. Emotional attachment doesn't have to mean lifelong loyalty to pain. There's immense wisdom in knowing when to honor an experience and when to release its grip. Think of this process not as rejection of the past, but as integration. You're not erasing what happened, you're choosing to stop reliving it as if it's still happening now. In certain teachings, there's a metaphor often used, that of holding a burning coal in your palm with the intention of throwing it at someone else. But in doing so, who gets burned first? Clinging to past hurt is like that. The fire doesn't just harm the memory, it singes the hand that refuses to release. Letting go isn't weakness, it's clarity. It's the soft but powerful understanding that peace begins not when things are resolved perfectly, but when you're willing to stop letting them take up space in your present. Consider this: forgiveness is not about saying what happened was okay. It's not about forgetting. It's about freeing yourself from the emotional chains that bind you to a version of yourself you no longer are. And sometimes, that forgiveness needs to be extended not to someone else, but to your own reflection. To the version of you who loved with abandon, who tried and failed, who hoped and got hurt. That version of you wasn't broken. They were brave. They were becoming. Writing a letter to that former self, thanking them, forgiving them, is a powerful act of reclamation. It's like taking a tender broom to the corners of your inner world, sweeping out what no longer serves so that something lighter can enter. When you burn that letter, you're not destroying the memory. You're releasing the emotional residue attached to it. You're making a choice to walk forward lighter, freer, and more in tune with who you are now. This week's energy encourages that kind of emotional decluttering. As you've begun reconnecting with your inner guidance, and as the external world begins aligning with new opportunities, this is the perfect time to clear space. Imagine your heart as a garden. You wouldn't plant new seeds among weeds left to grow wild. You till the soil, remove what's no longer fruitful, and create space for something new to root. Remember, Leo, the sun, your ruling force, doesn't look backward. It rises every single day, no matter what the previous night held. You carry that same rhythm within you. You are not your regrets. You are not your missteps. You are the energy that rises again. The light that reclaims itself after darkness. So pause. Breathe. Feel whatever needs to be felt without resistance. And when you're ready, turn your attention to the cups still standing, the ones life has placed before you now. Because they hold not just hope, but healing. Not just what's next, but who you've become through everything that came before. After releasing what no longer serves, there's a subtle shift that begins to take place, not just around you, but within you. It's the moment the air feels lighter, your thoughts a bit clearer, and the road ahead no longer feels like a wall, but an open path. And while it may not yet be fully illuminated, something inside tells you, it's time. That's exactly what the Chariot card reflects. It's not about charging ahead recklessly, nor is it about waiting for perfect conditions. It's about aligned movement, taking the next step, however small, with trust that the direction will become clearer as you go. When you've done the inner work, when you've made peace with the past and reclaimed your inner voice, you're no longer being pushed by fear, you're being pulled by clarity. The Chariot asks you to stop questioning your readiness. It reminds you that hesitation, while human, often masks a deeper fear of change. But here's the truth, the road doesn't need to be fully mapped out for the journey to begin. Just like a traveler setting off at dawn, you move by trusting that each sunrise will light the next few steps. You don't need the final destination, only the next right move. This is where the language of numbers begins to softly echo in your awareness. The number 232 appears like a gentle affirmation. Even if you don't understand the full picture, there is structure behind the flow. There's intelligence in the chaos. When you trust the timing of your life, you begin to see each pause, each redirection, not as an interruption, but as a recalibration. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be. The number 444 brings another kind of quiet comfort. It speaks to protection, not in a mystical sense, but in the grounded truth that when your intentions align with authenticity, life responds. Think of it as the unseen support system you may have overlooked. The ways things fall into place at the last minute, the conversations that shift something in you, the doors that open after long periods of silence. These aren't coincidences, they're markers that you are walking with purpose. And then there's 777, the number of synchronicity and momentum. When this number shows up, it isn't promising that everything will suddenly be easy. But it is affirming that your actions are supported, that your effort isn't in vain, and that a wave of opportunity is rising to meet your willingness. This is where magic lives, in the intersection between belief and motion. It helps to root all of this into something simple, something you can return to each day. A quiet ritual that realigns you with your power, That's where affirmations come in, not as magic spells, but as mental anchors. When you declare, "I am light," I attract aligned opportunities. I am worthy of all good things. You're not trying to convince the universe. You're reminding yourself of what's always been true beneath the noise of doubt. And repetition, especially when spoken with presence, begins to dissolve the old internal narratives that told you otherwise. Placing this affirmation somewhere visible, on a mirror, beside your bed, near your workspace, creates a point of contact between intention and embodiment. Over time, this small act becomes a tuning fork, a way to bring your thoughts, energy, and behavior into resonance with the life you're building. In some wisdom traditions, there's a saying, "The path is not found, it is made with each step." What that reveals is this: movement itself is sacred. Each decision you make with clarity and care is not just a response to life, but a shaping of it. You are both traveler and creator. Each step matters. Even the small ones. Especially the small ones. So take this moment to breathe in that truth. You've done the inner cleansing. You've remembered your strength. Now it's time to move. Not because everything is perfect, but because you are willing. And willingness, paired with belief, is what transforms a simple journey into something extraordinary. Let your next step be a gentle one. Let it be enough. Because from here, the story continues, and it's yours to shape. And now, as we begin to close this sacred space we've shared, I want you to pause and take a deep breath, not just to mark the end of this message, but to truly feel everything that's been stirred within you. The truth is, Leo, nothing outside of you is waiting to give you permission. The shift, the magic, the breakthrough you seek, it all begins with a single, intentional choice to believe in your own light again. You are not just here to survive another week. You are here to embody something greater. You've felt the fire. You've sat with the silence. You've released what no longer fits, and you've reconnected with your intuitive voice. You've seen the signs, heard the call, and now, the only question that matters is, will you rise to meet the version of yourself that's been patiently waiting for you to say yes? There's something uniquely powerful about your path, Leo. You were never meant to blend in. You were born under the rulership of the sun, a celestial force that never asks for the spotlight, because it is the light. And so are you. This week is not about grand gestures or immediate perfection. It's about trusting each step, no matter how small, and letting each moment become a declaration. I choose to show up. I choose to grow. I choose to believe in myself again. What would shift in your life if you approached each day like it mattered deeply? What might unfold if you woke up tomorrow and told yourself, I am not waiting for life to happen. I am life, and I am happening to the world around me? Can you imagine the energy that would carry you, not because everything is perfect, but because you finally decided to honor the imperfect beauty of your becoming? As you move into the week ahead, I encourage you to practice what we've explored together. Write that letter of release. Repeat your affirmation with presence. Dress in golden hues that remind your subconscious of your worth. Take one small action that aligns with the future you're building. And most of all, trust that every bit of this work is shifting your field, preparing you for something real, lasting, and deeply aligned. Your journey isn't just about you, it's a beacon for others. Every time you choose to heal instead of hide, to act instead of avoid, you're not only changing your own life, you're giving others permission to do the same. That is the quiet power of presence. That is how we ripple transformation into the world, gently, consistently, and courageously. And so, if something inside you feels stirred, awakened, maybe even a little emotional, that's good. That means you're alive in this moment. That means something real is happening. And I'd love to hear about it. Tell me in the comments, what part of this message resonated with you most? What step are you committing to this week? What old thought are you finally ready to leave behind? And if this video brought even a glimmer of clarity or comfort to your path, please let me know by liking this video, subscribing to Eternal Mindfulness, and sharing it with someone you care about. Your presence here matters more than you know, and every bit of support allows this space to grow and continue to bring these messages to those who need them most. From my heart to yours, thank you for walking this path with me today. You are not alone. You are not too late. And you are absolutely worthy of the life you're beginning to claim. So take that breath. Hold that light. And step forward, Leo, because your story isn't waiting. It's unfolding. And you are the one holding the pen. I'll see you in the next reading. Until then, be bold, be kind, and remember, you don't need to wait for the miracle. You are the miracle.